Yafe hayom, Shabbat shalom. Ma yafe hayom, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Ma yafe hayom, Shabbat shalom. Ma yafe hayom, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Good evening, Shabbat shalom, and welcome to our services. Is it turned on? Good. We have all three cameras going this time, so it's wonderful for those of you that will be watching. It's a whole different kind of experience. And for all of you here, we're so glad that you took the time to say, it's Friday night, it's a beautiful night, it's President's Weekend, let's go to shul. And we really appreciate your being here and joining with us. We'd like to begin with the lighting of the candles, if anyone would like to come up and light candles for us.
And I will sing, don't worry.
I know. You know the same blessing. It's the same one you do in Denver. You said you're visiting from Denver, and you could, so everybody can watch you on YouTube later, so it's fine. I know you're up here for skiing, but you never thought you'd be up here for candle lighting.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shall Shabbat.
May the Shabbat candles we now light inspire us to see justly and gently, look honestly and with kindness, and to see what's holy in each other. Turn in our prayer books to page 4 at the bottom of the page. Hine matov, how good and pleasant it is to be together.
And we're so lucky that we get to be here all together in person. So please take just a moment to look around the room, say Shabbat Shalom, or introduce yourself to someone you haven't had a chance to talk to yet. Hine matov u'manayim, shavet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, יאללה לה, יאללה לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, יאללה לה, יאללה לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד.
The bottom of page 8 will continue responsively with our family prayer. May we never take for granted the gift of Shabbat as we sit nestled in the Rocky Mountains, sharing this humble moment with family and friends. May the satisfaction of celebrating Shabbat hearten our spirits. Let Shabbat peace bring quiet to our souls. Allow this time set aside for song and prayer to bring us closer together in thoughts and deeds. Let the space we share become our place of devotion, glowing with reverence and filled with our traditions. And may the end of this week encourage us to examine our actions. Let us look ahead toward the new week so we'll be worthy of all of God's blessings. We welcome the angels of peace. Shalom Aleichem, the top of page 8.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu ni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Well, Ernie, I heard that you went up on the mountain with David, and that's the reason why we're here, right? You say, Esa'inai, I lift my eyes to the mountains, and we see this beautiful blue sky. When did you just go up?
We went up all day.
All day.
Wow.
From 11 to 1:30, and then we had lunch.
Well, this will be the weekend. It's got the perfect snow and the perfect blue sky.
It was 40 degrees.
Wow.
Must not have been
Gorgeous.
here. Okay, page 12 at the top of the page.
Esai-nai el heharim, me'ayin yavo ezri. Esai-nai el heharim, me'ayin yavo ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai, oseh shamayim va'aretz. Ezri me'im Adonai, oseh shamayim va'aretz. Esai-nai el heharim, me'ayin yavo ezri. Esai-nai el heharim, me'ayin yavo ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai, עושה שמיים וארץ, עזרי מעם אדוני, עושה שמיים וארץ.
And as we travel back to the 16th century, to the town of Svat, the center of Jewish mysticism, it's there where Lecha Dodi was written as we welcome the Sabbath bride, page 16.
לך לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתחילה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה, קומיצי מתוך ההפיכה, רב לך שבט בעמק הבכה, והוא יחמול עלייכם. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Bottom of page 18, we rise, face the rear of the sanctuary as we greet the Sabbath bride.
בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמונה עם סגולה. בואי הלאה, בואי הלאה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
On page 23, we had that wonderful reading going back to 1921. Dr. Crane says, not really visiting from Manhattan Beach, but kind of from Manhattan Beach. So we're going to have you lead us responsively.
Sure.
Thank you.
Page 23.
Yes, thank you.
I start? Okay. Just for today, I will live one day only, forgetting yesterday and tomorrow, and not trying to solve the whole problem of life at once.
Just for today, I'll be unafraid of life and death, unafraid to enjoy the beautiful and be happy. People make up their minds to be.
Just for today, I will adjust myself to what is, and not try to adjust everything to suit me. If I cannot have what I like, I will try to like what I have.
Just for today, I'll be agreeable, cheerful, charitable, do my best to praise people for what they can do, not criticize them for what they cannot do, and if I find fault, I'll forgive it, forget it. I'll try not to improve nor regulate anybody except myself.
Just for today, I will have a plan. I might not follow it exactly, but I will have one. It will save me from worry, hurry, and indecision.
Just for today, I'll get people off my nerves and not get on theirs. I appreciate them for what they do and what they are.
Just for today, I will not show it if my feelings are hurt.
Just for today, I'll find a little time for quiet, to relax, realize what life is and can be. Time to think about God and get a better perspective of myself.
Just for today, I will look at life with fresh eyes and discover the wonder of it. I will know that as I give to the world, so the world will give to me.
Thank you. So we turn to page 24 and rise. Continue with our call to worship, the Baruch Hu.
Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach Yolam Va'ed. May be seated as we continue with the oldest prayer, fixed prayer found within Judaism. Turn to page 30 at the top of the page and join with the cantor.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha Bechol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol meodecha Ve'hayu hadvarim ha'eleh Asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Vishinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam B'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shachbecha uv'kumecha Ukshartam leot al yadecha Ve'hayu letotafot bein einecha Uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'item kedoshim leloechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem lelohim ani Adonai Elohechem.
Well, there were such good intentions several weeks ago when we had a blizzard and we had to cancel services. And then last week, I was here and not feeling well, so the cantor took over again. And then this week, we are finally going to look at this portion in the Torah that we've been talking about. And found within it is Ozi V'Zimrat Yah, page 74 in our prayer books. As they were crossing the sea, this is one, and you'll see specifically in the Torah where it's found, that they were singing, crossing the sea into the dry land, page 74.
Ozi V'Zimrat Yah Vayehi li Lishua Ozi V'Zimrat Yah Vayehi li Lishua Ozi V'Zimrat Yah Vayehi Lishua Ozi Bezimratya Vayehili 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 Lishua.
It's one of the most significant prayers. It's sung at every morning service at the Shachari prayers. They sing it, and also the idea of it being sung as they were crossing the sea has great significance. It's a totally different tune when you're chanting the Torah. And when we come to that part of the Torah, when it's being chanted, the whole congregation rises just for the reading of those 30 lines. So it's a pretty amazing experience. It's in Parshat B'Shalach, but we're going to be looking at it in just a few minutes. Let's return to our prayer books on page 34. On this Shabbat evening, we seek peace and comfort, shield us from the hatred and destruction that plagues so many corners of the world, and console those in need. Hashkivenu as we join together.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom Me'amitenu Malkeinu leChaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom Me'amitenu Malkeinu leChaim. Ushmor Tzeiteinu Uvoeinu Lechaim Ushalom Me'ata ve'ad olam. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom Me'amitenu Malkeinu leChaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom Me'amitenu Malkeinu leChaim.
And found in the book of Exodus, in 6 days the Lord created the heavens and the earth. The seventh day he ceased from his work and rested. Vishamru, page 36.
Vishamru b'nei Israel et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam beini uvein b'nei Israel oti leolam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz uvayom hashvi Shabbat Shabbat vayinafas Shabbat Shabbat vayinafash. Shabbat, Shabbat vayinafash.
There are those in our community who are in need of healing, of body, mind, or spirit. If you have a person in your life that is in need of healing, please feel free to share their name aloud as we move about the sanctuary. We're going to continue now, page 38 at the top of the page, Mishaberach.
Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor habracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen.
We keep in our thoughts Carolyn Arnold, Emil Arnold, Lynn Ambrose, Gail Balin, Sue Beiser, Linda Cullen, Blanche Deutsch, Lynn Deutschman, Sarah Jane Drescher, Carol Ann Finn, Jane Friedman, and Steve Friedman, Betty Ann Gaynor, Don Gerstein, Deborah Goldman, Cliff Goldman, Don Graubert, Mike Herman, Ken Imler, Donald Jaffe, Harriet Jaffe, Warren Janowitz, Mary Sue Katz, Skip Clowens, Herman Keek, Brian Kushner, Renee Levine, Renee Myers, and Stephen Reese, Daniel Rosen, Chip Ruth, Roberta Scheller, Sam Schwartz, Bernie Shavitz, Ann Sheldon, Bill Silvers, Dina Stempler, Mark Strauss, Maury Strauss, Alan Tenenbaum, Rita Weinstein, Tevi Wellens, Brian Wilson, and Mickey Winokur, and Will. And I know some people like to keep it very private, and we're always thinking of them. Some had surgery this past week, and they say, just think about me during these prayers as we do. Is there anyone else? Thank you.
Mishaberach Imotenu Mekor habracha Leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
With your broken arm and all. See, you'll be healed soon. We turn our prayer books to page 40, the top of the page. We rise and continue with the Reader's Kaddish.
I'll hold your book for you.
Here you go.
Yitkada veyitkada shemei rabba.
Amen.
Bi'alma divarach hirte v'amli malchute.
Becha yechon uvyom echon uvchayedecho beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala, uvizman kariv.
Ve'imeru.
Amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevarach. Le'alam ulam me'omaya. Yitbarach.
Yitbarak ve'yitchtaba v'napar v'shomam v'naseh ve'yitadar ve'yitale ve'yitalal shemei kedusha
B'richu.
le'ela min kol birchata ve'shirata.
Tushbechata v'nechemata da'amira be'alma.
Ve'imeru.
Amen.
Thank you. The cantor will be slipping out in just a moment for her. Not only is she very famous amongst all of us within the Jewish world, but she's also very famous within all of Eagle County for your performance of,
Something Rotten.
yeah,
A Broadway musical that tonight is our 6th of 7th performances. So tomorrow's closing night, but I do need to sneak out a couple minutes early to get there on time.
so and it was a beautiful show, and
Thank
we're
you.
glad to have you, at least for most of it. Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. We continue page 42.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha.
So we continue silently through page 57. May be seated when you've completed the Amida. We continue with our prayer for peace. In the bottom of page 56, we'll join together, Oseh Shalom. Oseh Shalom bimromav, Uyaseh Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru imru amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael, v'yimeru, amen. I'm not sure technically how we're going to do this, but I'll introduce the portion we're going to be looking at in the Torah. I don't know if we want to try to be up closer or up on the bima. But what's interesting about the Torah, for the last 2,000 years, it's always been written the same way. There's always 42 lines to a column, no matter what Torah you look at. And then you've got all the columns that go across. There's about 50 sheets of parchment. What makes it unique is that they had to come up with these rules, and they've never changed. These are not halakha. It's not, no law said you had to, but the custom always was. So they thought, well, why are there 42 lines in a Torah? They said, well, after crossing the Red Sea, there were 42 stations that they stopped at before reaching Mount Sinai. So they used the number 42. When you think about some of the other parts of it, in this thing we're going to look at, it's totally unique. There's only 2 sections of the Torah that look like this. Everything else is written really in columns, and hopefully there's a break so you know where to read from what you're reading. But in this case, it's called brick upon brick. And it's very, very difficult to write because obviously you're writing with a quill, and a quill has a little nib at the end of it. So it's not like, if you were putting it on your computer, you'd go, my name is, and then space, 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 Joel. So you know how many spaces to put in there. In this case, it's 9 spaces in between each of them, but it has to be 9 nib spaces, which makes it much more challenging. Remember, you're going from right to left, so when the scribe is writing it, they have to judge how far do I go from the last word that I wrote before the next word that I'm going to write, and then get to the end, because there's no hyphen in Hebrew, down to the next line, but the next line cannot be underneath. So they did brick upon brick, as you're going to see. So I thought, well, why? No one knows. But they always make up a lot of really good answers. And Dan Bender out at the Aloha Jewish Chapel wrote to me, he said, I think I remember reading about this. And he said that one of the ideas was, if you create these bricks after crossing the Red Sea, they're now leaving the bricks that they had to make in slavery. One of the good answers. Since then, they've talked about it during the Holocaust, the bricks of the ghetto. And when we sing something like Oz, you talk about now we're free and there's a new freedom that they're experiencing. The only other thing which we have that we have no idea why they're there are these little flags that are on top of the letters. And they're called tagin, or crowns. And you'll see those as well. So what I'd like to do, we'll get one more volunteer up here. Should we do it up on top, do you think?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. This Torah is pretty special. I'll let you take it up. It's about 250 years old. This is what the Strauss family donated. It's deer skin. So normally you're going to see one made out of cow skin or calf skin. That's about all of them. Outside of a museum, you'd never see this. This is 55 sheets of deer skin from Yemen. So I'll use this and try not to get in the way of the camera. When you look at it here, and if you want to come up closer, you can. Patrick, that's not going to get in the way if someone comes up to this front row. We're good? So if you want to come up closer, you're welcome to come up. But you can see here, it starts out, Az Yashir Moshe V'nei Yisrael. The tune is totally unique. So what happens is the person who's reading the Torah stops right here. There's always 5 lines. Every Torah you're going to look at for the last 2,000 years, that's what they do. They have 5 lines. Then you have to leave this full space because you're going to have the 42 lines of Torah. And you'll notice here, this now goes for 30 lines, not 29, not 31. It's always going to be the 30 lines of Az Yashir. So when it starts out, it's a one trup, which is Az, and everyone stands up in the congregation. You don't have to stand up when it's being read Torah. Then they go, Yashir Moshe V'nei Yisrael et Hashira Hazot. Totally different tune that you'd read. And when we come to the second line, see the space of 9 spaces in between. So they have to judge what would 9 letters look like before you start the next word. And the next word is Oz. And Oz has luckily a few letters you could stretch, but this scribe was really good. Oz v'zimra ya ladonai. For every single one of these. And as this is read, you can see what they're talking about, brick upon brick. Can you see how that works? And they have to judge that which of the words is going to go, and then they go to the 9 spaces in between each word in order to create the 30 lines. And then it goes down to the bottom. The last 5 lines down at the bottom finish up. They've now crossed the Red Sea. Now, I don't know how we can do this. We're going to weave yours a little bit, pull yours in, and let yours out. Keep going. Okay, keep going a little bit with the good. You can stay spread out. After they cross the Red Sea, now they have to go through those 42 stations that they're going to stop all the way before what happens? The 10 Commandments. They're going to receive the 10 Commandments. This is the other time where you'll notice over here, see all this space in between. So all of a sudden, when you're reading Torah, you can absolutely identify, here comes the 10 Commandments because it says, lo, 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 all those things you aren't supposed to do. And then they've come to the 10 Commandments. So what makes it so, I think, so interesting, especially when writing it, is we can really see the development of what they did over the past 2,000 years and how it just doesn't change. The scribe is not allowed to be creative and say, maybe I should do 44 lines. No, they're not going to do that. So they do it all the way through here, crossing the Red Sea, and now they're going to wander around through the desert, all through here, until they finally come to Mount Sinai and receive the 10 Commandments. And that's when they sing. And again, the congregation stands for this because it's the receiving of the Ten Commandments. So if anybody, before we roll this up, wants to come and take a closer look, you're welcome. Will, come on up. You can take a look. It's pretty unusual. The only other place you see a Torah like this is in a museum. We saw one when we were in London that they found, but otherwise, when you look at the parchment, it's totally different because it's 55 sheets of deerskin. It's sewn together with the sinew, which is the back calf muscle, which is woven into a sinew of a, and that would be deerskin sinew, and then all the patches where you can kind of, oh yeah, we don't want to burn this. That would be a bad thing. You can see here with the holes that it's all patched the same way.
So these the only spots that have this big spaces?
Yes. Now, there's other things that the scribes have always put in. When you see the Shema, the Shin, and the Daled at the end, Shema Yisrael and Eloheinu Nai Echad, the Daled is big and the and the Ayin is big, so it spells out aid.
Between the crossing of the Red Sea and the giving of the Ten Commandments, did they receive the manna and some of the water?
That comes later. First, we're going to get the Ten Commandments. We're not going to keep unwinding, but you can tell, yes. And then you can see here the naturalness of the deerskin. And even here where it was so worn just from being used.
Easier to find deer where this was made? Is that why?
Yemen didn't have cows.
Got it.
So Yemen had, and it wasn't really like deer that we see in our front yard.
Yeah.
They called it something else, but it's that rich brown. And when you, actually when you feel it, it's you can see the shine to it, like almost like a leather moccasin.
Yeah.
That it's very, very different. And because they didn't have cows, they had deer. But for them to survive is very unusual, and for them to be able to write on the deer skin is really rare. So we don't take this out too often, but I know for this Az Yashir, you can see the brick upon brick. Thank you. Let's keep it away from the candle. That's a good idea.
I moved that.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Or? You're welcome. And most. No, we're 2 parshas further, because that was the parsha of the blizzard. Last week was the parsha when I was sick, and now we have the parsha of this week. Last week's parsha was 10 Commandments, and then Mishpatim, all those laws, all the laws that you get. And in the parsha that we were studying, we talked about it on a Wednesday morning. It was so interesting that in that parsha, they talk about some of the dietary laws. And one of the dietary laws that they describe in there is the laws of you shall not boil a kid in its mother's milk. That's it. No explanation at all. And they say it 3 times. You shall not. So I don't know if that was common or if they thought it was mean, but they had to say it 3 different times in the Torah. You shall not boil a kid in his mother's milk. It doesn't say, and you should also have separate dishes. No. Just you shall not boil a kid in its mother. Don't have a cheeseburger. No, it didn't say that. It's whatever reason they were doing this, and finally, that's all you're supposed to do. The other thing found in the parsha that we were studying, this is the first time the 3 holidays are being introduced. Obviously, you couldn't have Passover before this because we didn't pass over. And this is the time they have Shavuos. Why? Receiving of the 10 Commandments and Sukkot. They introduced the festival of Sukkot. So this is the first time we learn about any of those 3 holidays. Well, let's return to our prayer books now. Page 60 at the top of the page. We'll rise and continue with Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula leotzer breshid, shelo asanu kigoye haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpechot adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, mishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech, Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu V'ne'emar V'haya Adonai Melech Al Kol Haaretz Bayom hahu, Yeh Adonai echad, Shemo, Ushemo, Ushemo echad. At this moment, in memory of our loved ones who are no longer with us, we join hands in love and remembrance. A link has been broken in the chain that bound us together. Its strong bonds of love and home hold us one to another. In solemn testimony to that unbroken faith which links the generations one to another, we call to mind those whose yahrzeit we observe this month. Robert Bernstein, Helen Braunstein, Gladys Brodsky, Nancy Budd, Jacob Cantor, Ethel Cohen, Carl Dietz, Toby Dvorkin, Rhea Iyer, William Fishback, Jason Fleischman, Robert S. Fremont, Joan Frommer, Max Fermansky, Molly Futernick, Maurice Goldberg, Lily Grabowski, Irene Grossman, Bob Janko, Bernice Jenkins, Lee Kay, Mary Kent, Sidney Joseph Kern, Maxine Lando, Jack Leeds, Rita Lewis, Brandon Merritt, George Mincer, Arlene Neperant, Doris Olch, Richard Peller, Gary Plotnick, Molly Raymer, Lester Reese, Victor Resnick, Bernice Resnick, Kurt Rosenbach, Irving Ross, Robert Rubin, Jim Sandberg, James Sandberg, Charlotte Schiff, Jenny Lou Schoolman, Arthur Shapiro, Marjorie Schoenholtz, Adele Siegel, Isidore, Jack Silver, Charlie Slakowitz, Don Sosland, Dorothy Spector, Yetta Spiro, Norman Spitzmiller, Sheila Strauss, C.J. Tenner, Lilianne Wagner, Dorothy Weiner, and our condolences to the Groblowski family and the loss of their very dear friend Chester Parver. If anyone else is observing yahrzeit this month. The Mourner's Kaddish can be found in our prayer books, page 64, and those who wish may join with me as we say, Yitzgadal v'yitzgadash shemei rabbah, v'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chal Beit Yisrael, v'agalav izman kariv v'imramein, Yehi shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam omei omaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, Yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran bi'alma v'imramein. Yehi shlomo rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imramein. Oseh shalom b'imramav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imramein. You may be seated. For those of you with us, if you don't have one of these bulletins, please take it. It's updated every day. We've gone to it used to just be a little piece of paper. Now it's grown to a big paper with all the things that are happening, and we keep adding more and more. So if you're planning your summer and you're away, please take a look at, it's in the newsletter as well. Follow the newsletter and you can see some of the things we're doing. We know that we have so many of you. We have between 100 and 150 people that are watching because they don't want to come out where it's so cold, which I understand. But we're so glad to have those from Seacrest that visiting us from San Diego, and the Aloha Jewish Chapel at Pearl Harbor, I know gets to watch us. And Dan, I thank you for those notes. And the Gainers, Groblowskis, both on the East Coast, we wish them well, and Friedman in Texas, and Bernie Shavitz, and so many others that call in and say that we're glad we're able to do a service like this for you. Well, take a look at some of these things. There's much coming up. This Thursday, we do have our book, Chavurah. It's called The Alchemy of Air. It's on Thursday night, 6 o'clock by Zoom. It's a pretty fascinating story. You don't have to be a scientist to understand it, but it's still really interesting. You don't even have to have read the book. You just have to come on and you listen to the discussion. You can join in on the discussion. We get a lot of people, and because it's on Zoom, it's such a simple thing to join us and be a part of. So many other things are happening of people coming by Zoom with other books in March and another Zoom in April that are just fascinating books, and we have the authors coming. And then this summer, we have 3 major speakers that are going to be joining us. That's listed on here as well. One of them is, I just reconfirmed it before services. It's from the books of Fox Hunt, which is a refugee's memoir of coming. And he's going to be coming out of Los Angeles. He's a Yemenite Muslim who helped get the Jews out as well as other people during the Yemenite wars. And he's going to come talk about it, and his book is being made into a movie. It's Mohammed al-Samawi. We have, coming from Israel, David Zhang. He's a Dutch Jew, talking about Nazi billionaires, where the grandchildren of Nazis are still profiting from what was going on 70 years ago. And he wrote the book Nazi Billionaires. And one more author, which I don't have written down here, and he's going to be coming, again, partnering with Vail Symposium. So we have it's a very, very busy, great summer with a lot of amazing people that are coming. So we look forward to having you come join us. And any ideas, we still fill it in. So if you say, have you ever thought about doing that? We do. Anything else I'm missing? Okay. Well, again, welcome. We're glad that you came out tonight. It was a beautiful night out here, and to have you in person and to have those that are visiting with us. It's our first time we have 3 cameras going. Patrick, thank you for all that. It just makes it even so much better for those that are watching through the streaming. They get to see what's going on. So we're going to return to our prayer. We'll feel better. We're going to continue in our prayer books, page 66. I'm not going to ask Michelle what unusual tune she's going to do. Luckily, Adon olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'et nasa b'chefsa kol azai melech shemol nikra v'yacharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora vehu haya vehu hoveh vehu yiyeh v'tifara vehu echad v'yein sheni lam shilo liachbira v'li reshit v'li tachlit v'lo ha'oz v'ha'misra hu eli v'chai goali v'tzur chevli b'yetzara vehu nisi umanos li menat kosi veyomek rabbi ado afkid ruchi ve'tishan v'ya'ira v'imruchi gaviati Adonai li velo ira. We rise for a closing blessing. Adonai oz li'amo yitain, Adonai avarechet amo v'shalom. May the Lord grant strength unto his people. Bless all peoples with peace. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz v'tei avon. Shabbat shalom, and thank you for being with us.
There's challah and wine in the back.
Shabbat shalom.